Good morning, afternoon, and evening, and everything in between. I'm the Canadian, back with another video. And today it's going to be an N-scale video being featured on the main layout. The main layout is currently covered in a bunch of stuff. It's still under construction, and it's a mess. I know. I need to clean it up. Don't judge me. It's a normal happening. But in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys my entire locomotive roster in N-scale. I divided each one up into DC, DCC, and non-operational and unpowered. And then my DC and DCC groups have been subdivided into diesel, steam, and electric. And it might seem very OCD. It's just organization. I'm not OCD. If I was OCD, this thing would be sparkling clean. I'm not OCD. That also sounds like something an OCD person would say. So getting right into it, I'm going to start off over here, with this Atlas Canadian Pacific SD60M. DCC ready, of course. My dad got it for Christmas. It's a really good runner. The only problem I had with it was when I got it, one of the back handrails was broken. Just a little dab of glue fixed it. Next to that, another thing my dad got me for Christmas, Atlas Master DCC Sound Ready Canadian Pacific GP38. Another very good runner. Next to that is a recently repaired Fox Valley ES44. The motor had died in it, and we had to get a new motor for it, and popped it in, and runs perfectly fine. Next to that is my Kato CN ES44. Another thing you're going to notice is there will be locomotives that have been featured in my other videos, like my video reviews. So stay tuned for that. Moving down here, I gotta move out the stool because it's hurting my feet. I feel old, but next one, don't mind my custom gym back there. Next up is a Kato Canadian Pacific ES44 that I custom did for the children's Every Child Matters movement. For the what was it? Oh, the for residential school survivors and oh my god, I'm drawing a blank. I'm moving on to the next one because I'm gonna get flack in the comments, and I just had a brain fart and I forgot what I was doing. Next locomotive. I sound like a terrible person. Next locomotive is a Fox Valley ES44 DC for Canadian National. Was the Quebec's economissions variant. Well, I'm looking at the wrong one. Quebec's economissions variant. Next to that is ET44. Oops, I'm getting ahead of myself. ET44 scale trains operator for CN. A very nice, one of my more recent. Very nice, very smooth. My first scale trains locomotive I've ever had, and oh my god, I'm glad I got more. Next to that, speaking of getting more, oh my god, I am shaky. Scale trains rivet counter, CN ET44 for the veteran, number 3015. Coincidentally, my dad has the same locomotive in HO scale, same number. We did not plan that. Next to that is an RSC3 Kato Atlas collaboration from, I don't know how long ago that was. Believe it or not, it is a really good runner, and I still use it. And I do have decoder for it. Yeah, it's a really good locomotive. It was secondhand, and it's, I forget what, C and SRL. So I don't know what that was. Next up, Amtrak Kato P42 Genesis. Very nice locomotive used on my Amtrak train. Another Amtrak locomotive for a fictional Amtrak line I'm doing called Amtrak North that runs from Washington to Alaska through British Columbia. It's a C44-9, painted in silver with a forest green. Next to that, it's Cato, my first Burlington Northern Santa Fe locomotive in the executive scheme. SD70 Mac, also a nice locomotive. Back here, here's been a project I've been doing on. Another ferry, BC Ferry. If there's anyone from BC who knows ferries, drop a comment down below. Tell me which ferry you think this is. I already know which one it is. I just want to know if you guys know. Next up, Burlington Northern Santa Fe SD70 ACE Cato. Very nice runner. Featured on my main container train. One of 4 locomotives. There's the third one. This is the second. This one's the first. A Union Pacific number 4141 for George Bush Presidential Library. Painted in a nice Air Force One colors. That was a nice locomotive. Next up, another Scale Trains River Counter, ET44, CN Heritage for BC Rail. I'm from BC. I gotta have a BC Rail. It's, you know, doesn't matter if you're from BC and you model like Rio Grande or Illinois Central, you gotta have a BC Rail, you know, it's BC. Next up, 2 customs for my fictional railway, my main fictional railway. First up is an Atlas SD24, stubborn locomotive, painted up in cream and green as a new paint scheme. I got it because I wanted something bigger but small, but something that wasn't an Alco. As much as I like Alcos, I wanted an EMD. Same with this one, you know, cream and green for my fictional line. It's a lifelike Alco C424. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Why am I so shaky? I don't know why I'm so shaky. But for a lifelike, I call them lifelike blue boxes because that was like the era before Walters took them over, I believe. I really liked that era of lifelikes. And yeah, it's a really good runner. Next up is perhaps one of my largest locomotives in the fleet. It's a Canadian Pacific SD90 Mac. I almost said 70. SD90 Mac. This was, I think, my 4th locomotive I got. And one of my favorites. I have a few favorites. Next up, CN Atlas Alco C630? I don't know. Painted, aftermarket painted, with a orange cab and white stripe. It originally did not have that. Next up is a Cato Japanese commuter train. I'm using it for my fictional line passenger train. This is the power car. It does not go with the set I'm using. I do have the decoder for this, and there's the set for right there. It's called a Hitachi or Super Hitachi. Nice train. Doesn't go with it at all, but, you know, I don't care. The decoder right now is in another locomotive, so I'll be doing a swap for that. Next up is Burlington Northern Santa Fe Atlas C40-8 WCW or -840CW. I don't know. It's a -8 C trucks for Burlington Northern Santa Fe. It'll be on. This is the 4th locomotive in that train. It'll be sitting on the back, and it's pretty good. Next up is another Fox Valley ES44 for Canadian Pacific. This is an X 2010 Olympic locomotive. It has no markings along the long hood there. There are 2. One still has the white stripe from that, and I will be getting that when I find it. Next up is my one that's been featured before, my Atlas -8C demonstrator unit. You know, nothing much to say there. I just had a video come up for that. Next up is an old Cato Atlas, similar to that, but I think a little bit newer. RS 2015, I want to say. I got this from local hobby store in Vancouver, now closed, Central Hobbies. Really great store. Um, yeah, the store closed down, but at the time of this video. But in August 2023, there will be a new one opening up a little bit distance away in Langley called Intercity Hobbies. They will be having the Central Hobby stock, and apparently a couple of the employees are going there too. Wow, I am not. Where am I looking? I have no idea. Hopefully, no one watching this gets motion sickness. Here, I need to brace here. Next up is video, or actually, I'll have to check to see if this one has posted yet. This is a Athearn SD70 demonstrator. Very nice locomotive, very nice run. A little loud, but it runs very smooth. Next up is my West Coast Express F59 PHI from Athearn, featured in video. Next up, Stubborn Runner Atlas MP15 DC, panned up for my fictional line here. I got some different parts for it, swapped them out, different cap, different smokestacks. And yeah, it's really stubborn to run sometimes. Yeah. But it works, so it's in the working pile. Next up, Kato AC4400 CW. Started life as a Chicago Northwestern, painted into Canadian Pacific for the holiday train. The Canadian Pacific holiday train, all the way down to the Christmas tree. That was a pain to get on, but the decals was the easiest part. Next up, Kato C44-9 that I painted up for Canadian National. Swapped out the cab for the Caslow Shops Canadian 4-window cab. Eventually, I'll be getting another one and doing that up in BC Rail because they had the same thing. Next up is a Minitrix Canadian Pacific steamer. It works, but I don't really run it. It's got the old, spring drive shaft motor, and it gives off a very toxic electrical smell, so I don't really like running it. Next up, Kato Amtrak City Sprinter. Be featuring that on another layout that'll be in the future. The pilot is right there because it took a tumble to the floor and it broke the coupler. I do have a replacement coupler, I haven't put on yet. Little side note, traveling from the mainland BC to Vancouver Island, not sponsored, by the way, I recommend that. That is a knockoff Lego set of a ferry. I get one on every time I go on a ferry. I have so many. I can build custom ferries. I'm nerding out. I really like it. Try one. Also helps on long trips. DC section. We're stepping up the world. First up, I've got this wonderful Broadway Limited AC 6000. My favorite. Another one of my favorite locomotives. Got it for Christmas. My dad got it for me. And I have been enjoying it so much. And next up, another F59 PHI by Athearn, painted up for my fictional line for passenger and freight service. It will be used on freight service. It has the same decoder that one will have. I haven't put the other one in yet, but yes, this one does work. Next one up is an old Kato RS3, painted in my fictional line, an old paint scheme. Partnering with that is Atlas GP30, former Rio Grande, painted up in my fictional line's old paint scheme. Next to that, previous video, Bachmann sound value, SD45, not much to say there, Kato, Canadian Pacific, SD45. Apparently Canadian Pacific didn't have them, but sure enough, this one showed up. So, Next one up, Rapido CN-8 Draper Taper. I equipped it with my own decoder, Soundtracks, and this is, again, one of my favorites. I have another one on pre-order for BC Rail. Next one up, Newest locomotive is a Kato GS4 for Southern Pacific. It is DCC, no sound. I will be getting an ESU decoder for it with speaker. The decoder in this right now is an EM13, which will be taken out and put into the Japanese train as it takes the same decoder. That's it for DCC. Getting back on the stool here a little bit. Now we're into the pile. Yeah. There's some disappointments in here. Starting off this end here. By the way, how do you like this section of the layout? You can't really see it, but yeah, it's nice. That one there, that's a dummy locomotive. Dash 9. It has a 3D printed sound frame with Kato trucks. It's put on the end of a train. Next up is a Bachmann locomotive. It's got a dead motor. Next one up, I was extremely disappointed in this. Rapido F40PH-2D rebuilt. It doesn't work. Brand new. Doesn't work. I was very disappointed. This one, Kato BC Rail SD40 Snoot Nose. Worked fine. Stopped working. If it works, I have to press down on it and it works, and then it just cuts out. This is a Kato SD70 ACE, formerly a 4141. It hit the floor. Slowly been rebuilding it, painting it into CN. Kato Grand Trunk Swit SW1. Just the power clips are melted onto the shell and they fell out. Stupid design. Stubborn Runner Dash 840B by Atlas. Runs forward, not backwards. Very weird. Two main disappointments here. Both Intermountain SD45T, SD40-2W. They don't work. They just don't work. I don't know why they don't work. DCC Fox Valley GP50. That's my fault. I fried the decoder. Broadway Limited ES44. Just stopped working. Sounds work, just doesn't respond. Lastly, is a runner currently in DCC modification, Rapido GMD1. Again, I recommend this locomotive. I've got the decoders on the way, and yeah, it's very nice. It just doesn't work right now. Two locomotives that aren't featured is a Bachmann Spectrum Dash 8, painted for Blue Devil CN. Working on the trucks because the gears fell apart.